So, hey guys, hey, welcome back to Couch Conversations. And you know what? I got a treat for you guys on today. Today we have with us Brandon Hathaway. Oh, I cannot wait to get into this. Woo, this is going to be a good one. So, this episode title is Still Walking. So, we have today Brandon Hathaway. Brandon, can you introduce yourself to everybody so they
Yeah,
know who you are?
yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be here to speak with you about this stuff today. But my name is Brandon Hathaway. I am a Christian author. I started off doing hip hop music, turned that into spoken word. And now I just utilize my gifts and my talents for the Lord. So just kind of walking with people who have had doubt, faith, anything like that, struggles, addictions of any kind. And you can hear that through my music and my writings. So I'm really honored to be able to be here and share that today.
Happy to have you here. Me and you, we have some things in common that I'm hoping that we can talk about a little bit today. And
Yeah,
as a matter of
absolutely.
fact, today in church, we were talking about those things. Some of the things we were talking about when we did like the pre-interview and everything.
Hmm.
So, beyond the titles, author, speaker, and spoken word artist, who is Brandon Hathaway? Who is Brandon?
Yeah, yeah. So I am I was born and raised here in Akron, Ohio. Uh love my city and my state. Love to represent it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just somebody who I'm here to just tell my story. I feel like the Lord has really worked with me over the years to experience a lot of things, and I think through the ups and the downs, and mostly through the downs, what the Lord was doing was preparing me for this moment. And as He was preparing me for this moment, He said, "Don't be ashamed to share your story." And this is where it all started was with Still Walking, which is going to be turning into a series. But
Wow.
yeah, I'm just your average person, man. Just the Lord gifted me with some abilities here, and I'm just glad to be here and be able to share
Mhm.
that through whatever He wants me to do. But yeah, I mean, really, it's about my life, and we're gonna dig into that with Still Walking and just where we're at with that. So yeah.
Well, speaking of still walking, what does that title personally mean to you?
Yeah, so still walking personally to me means that I haven't quit,
Uh-huh.
right? I'm still walking. It doesn't mean I always walked well though, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I'm still here. Sometimes I've had to crawl, sometimes I've stumbled, sometimes I've stood longer than I probably should have. I wanted people to know that they're not alone and God is still present even in the middle of struggle, right? So even though we're struggling, God can seem absent sometimes, but
Mhm.
by because of him, I am still here with all of the experience and all of the things that I've had to go through. I'm still here and still walking, whether I still deal with any kind of problems and issues, which we all do, from time to time, still deal with those, but he still has me here, still walking. Some people just haven't had the fortunate part of making it through their struggles. Some of them lost the battle, and I did not. I'm still here. So,
Come on,
yeah.
somebody. Come on, somebody. When you say that
Super
I'm
powerful.
still here, I'm thinking the
Still here.
same thing because I mean
Hmm.
I've been through some things in my life.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I just refuse to quit. I refuse to give up. And
Yeah.
sometimes some
Yeah.
days it's hard. It's hard. It's
Yes.
not always easy. But I think what the thing is that people look at people like me and you and they think
Yes.
that it's been easy. It haven't been easy.
Oh,
Not at all. And there's
no.
still days.
Uh-uh.
I'm gonna just be honest. There's still days that, I can just lay in that bed all day and still just
All
be,
day.
yeah, you know.
Yes.
So you've been open about some of your
Mhm.
experiences with depression and anxiety and things
Yes,
like
ma'am.
that.
Mhm.
What gave you courage to open up and talk about it, especially being a man
Man.
in America?
Man. Yeah. Yeah, you ain't wrong. You know what? I think that after some long wrestling with God, I believe with all of my heart that this is the message that he's given me from before the time I was born. He was like, he knew this is what he was preparing me for the last 45 years to tell this story. And, it's just like I was thinking like earlier today, I'm like, man, I'm 45 years old and I'm just now doing this. But like, it took that long to prepare me and
Mhm.
my story. So God allowed, right? He doesn't cause the pain, doesn't
Mhm.
cause the struggles. I mean, he's amazing, but he allowed this to show his glory. So I've been walking with depression and anxiety since probably 3 years old.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't always know what that was or what that meant, obviously, as a kid, and no kid should have to deal with that, right? We shouldn't
exactly.
have to. And I think that like making it aware and causing awareness for mental health beings that it's
Mhm.
probably the worst thing that I've ever had to deal with. And I can't say I've shaken it. And I've come
Mhm.
to I mean, it's gotten better, obviously, but I've come to the conclusion that I think the Lord is allowing me to carry this to help others
Absolutely.
manage it, to better manage it,
Mhm.
because it's like sometimes, it's like this. I like to compare it to this. It's like cancer, people don't
Mhm.
want cancer, but some people are chosen to carry it. Some beat it, a
Mhm.
lot don't, right?
Mhm.
But we don't just say, hey, get rid of cancer, right? Because that's just not how that works. Well, the mental health is the same way. It's like, yeah, we would love to if we knew how to do that, right? So
Exactly.
I think a lot of this is awareness of like, look, like we don't have to be secluded. We don't have to be feeling like we don't have enough faith, that the Lord doesn't love us, or we need to pray more, any of that kind of stuff. Like that's just false information.
Right.
So I think through my own personal testimony and journey, I'm honored to be able to carry this or have walked through this to share it with others.
Do you ever feel like there was times? There's a couple questions I wanted to ask you about all this. Was
Mhm,
was there
mhm.
ever a time that you felt like you wasn't going to make it through it?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Several times, actually. I mean, there has been, I mean, we can get into the depth of it, but like there had been suicide attempts, there has been overdoses, there has been, yeah, I mean, more downs than I can
Yeah.
probably share here. But here's the cool thing, and Still Walking was not like a title that I'm like, oh, that's such a dope title,
Yeah.
It was like, but now that I have it, it's like, okay, some people aren't still walking. I have
Mhm.
friends that aren't walking anymore. I have family that aren't walking anymore, but
Mhm.
I am still walking,
Yeah.
and that is the message. So yeah, there has been plenty of times in my journey where I was like, I'm not going to make it. I didn't
Yeah.
want to make it. I wasn't trying
Yeah.
to make it, and I was really trying to end it, but the Lord's like, no, not now, not now. It ain't happening right now. It ain't happening
Yeah.
on my watch. Like,
Yeah.
you got work to do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I mean,
Yeah.
there's still days where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like this is I don't know, it's just like
Mhm.
I'm not only am I just still walking, but I'm also walking by faith because I've completely given my all and put all my eggs into this basket of being an
Yeah.
author and making mental
Mhm.
health awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's crazy when you say that. People don't
Mm-hmm.
understand this
Mm-hmm.
depression. This thing with depression and anxiety.
Yes.
I think that we're given the tools
Mm-hmm.
to be able to navigate through it.
Mm-hmm.
But here's one thing I don't understand with people. And listen, I'm not this person who is this what they call those people, this super religious person, and
Yeah,
this
no, I
person that
understand that. Yeah.
walk around with the Bible and then thou.
Sure.
I'm not. But let me tell you something.
Yeah.
God is the head of my life and
Yes, ma'am.
always have been and
Mm-hmm.
always will be. Nothing comes
Yep.
before him. What I don't
Amen.
understand is how do people function without him? I don't know because I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
I wrote a book and it's called Wake Up
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow. And I wrote that book about suicide and it
Yeah.
is about people understanding and recognizing it. Some
Mm.
people think that there's this cookie cutter idea about suicide and it just isn't. And people
Mm-hmm.
think that that thing goes away. I
Yeah.
think that, you know, there's people who, okay, yeah, who have made the attempts. I've made an attempt when I was in high school,
Mm.
and it was unsuccessful, and I was pissed off. But I think that people have this idea that, is step one, she's going to give her things away. Step two, she's going to cry all the time. It isn't
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And people is under the impression that, oh, she tried it once and that's done, or that she's over that. No, I think somewhere it still lingers. It still lingers
Yes.
here. And I
Mm.
think that's why I feel like it's very important that I never ever detach myself from God, no matter what.
Mm. Mm.
You know.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super
Mm-hmm.
powerful. I gotta check out that book.
Yeah.
I gotta check that
Yeah.
book out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a very touchy topic, especially when
Yes.
those that don't understand are like, oh, that person's selfish or that person's, and the thing is, it's like I'm not saying yes or no to any of that. I'm just saying like when it happens, I'm
Mhm.
like, man, that's terrible. But like, I
Yeah.
understand. I understand. I
Yes.
understand. And like, that's the part where I'm like, I don't want to say that, but I do understand. I do
Right.
understand. Some have been successful at the attempts and others have not been. Thankfully, I was
Yes.
not. Thankfully, you were
Yes.
not. And we get
Yes.
to still walk and talk about this,
Yes.
right? Right. And
Yes.
that's the idea behind this whole
Yes.
project here. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, number one, people don't understand this either, that this assignment that God has given us, and
Hmm.
it's not just one assignment, but it
Hmm.
is I should say it's a path that God is
Yes.
having
Yeah.
us to go down. Now, because we've already been through the boot camp, and when I say the boot camp, I'm talking about struggling with the depression and the
Mm.
anxiety and the suicide attempts and feeling like we wasn't enough, and all that other stuff that goes with it. It was a boot camp.
Yeah.
And I used to ask God, like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, why me? Why
Mm.
why do I have to suffer? Why did I have to suffer the way that I did? But you know what
Mm.
God told me? He said, well, why not? What better person?
Mm.
Other people, somebody else would have broke. And there
Mm.
were people who
Yeah.
broke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are we still here? Why are we
Mm.
still walking, Brandon?
Mm.
Because God knew. He
Mm.
knew
He
the
knew.
assignment for us. We
He
can
knew.
handle it. Some
Yeah.
days it feel like we can't,
Yeah. That's right.
especially when we try to handle it
Yeah.
with our own human
Yeah.
eyes and
That's
human
right. Yeah.
head and human ears.
Yeah. I'll tell you
You
what.
know.
Like, no, and I know you have a story because I got to read your book, and I'll tell you what. Um, I think I got through it in 2 days.
Yeah.
It was one of the. I don't. Okay. I want to say best books in the way of inspiring for me
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
read, especially this year, and it's going to be hard to top that just because like I couldn't put it down to
Hmm.
see like, oh my gosh, the stuff that you went through and the stuff that I can relate to on that. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my, wow, like
Yeah.
that book there
Hmm.
can help a lot of people, and it's
Yeah.
like and I want the same out of this. See, mine isn't more of a memoir right now, but they
Yeah.
are actual situations,
Yeah.
real situations that I've went to. And if you've ever been to spoken word or you know anything
Hmm.
about spoken word poetry, and I'm talking to anybody watching this as well, um, it's very like heartfelt. It's an art,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like a form of preaching. And
Hmm.
on my YouTube site this week I will have stuff there, so when I'm doing spoken word, see, people can read that and they'll text me and say, wow, that really spoke to me. It's like, well, that's
Hmm.
real. That's
Yeah.
real though.
Yeah.
That wasn't stuff I was just like, okay, I'm gonna make this up and hope it sticks. No, it's real life. And when I'm talking and when I'm actually coming from the heart with there's a lot of passion behind it. It's very preachy and it's very like raw in your face. Like, this is
Hmm.
what happens. This
Hmm.
isn't me
Yeah.
just reading off of something or
Yeah.
anything like that. This is me like literally giving it all the emotion that I have
Hmm.
to allow the reader
Hmm.
and the listener to actually feel it. And that's
Hmm.
why I feel like the next thing that's going to be coming would be the audio part of it, because they need to
Hmm.
hear the emotion behind the spoken word.
I was
Because
gonna
that was
say
not
that.
like my
Yeah.
original plan was
Yeah.
not to write this. Like, I had no
Yeah.
idea this was even going to happen. Like, I was like, the
Yeah.
Lord wanted me to share my story.
Yeah.
And I remember this morning I woke up thinking of like this really rough time in my life that I haven't I'm struggling writing about, and I feel like the Lord's like, no, just like tell it. And I'm like, Lord, this is a lot to
Mm.
tell
Yeah.
someone. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But I think this is like prepping me to be able to get to more of the raw side of things. You know, we're
Absolutely.
just touching the tip of the iceberg
Hmm.
here, and these are more like current events. But when I dig deep into my life, I'm like, man, Lord, like, do I really want people to know me like that? And He's like, no, but I want people to know me like this. The
I almost
glory's
ran
for
down the street
me,
and ran
right?
back again. You better
Right.
say it. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
love
he's
that.
saying, that's it's not
Yeah.
about me. It's like we have to die to ourselves and realize that, like, hey, the Lord pulled us out of some
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking about like when I read your book compared to my story, I'm like, man, we both been through the ringer and back 20
Yeah.
plus times. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that you said in that book that I haven't experienced. So it
Yeah.
was like, wow.
Yeah.
Um, and it just brings tears to your eyes to know that like there are other people that
Yes.
understand, right? And I
Yes.
think like people like you and I bring awareness to that,
Hmm.
and people just
Hmm.
need to see this stuff.
Yeah.
They need to read it. They need to,
Hmm.
and I love being able to connect with people on
Hmm.
top of it because it's
Absolutely.
really therapeutic, not just for me, but for them too. To be able to connect to real people. It's like I've been to psychologists, I've taken medications, I've done all of that stuff.
Hmm.
I've sat in front of pastors who are great speakers, but they have
Yeah.
no idea what I've ever been through. It's
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like none of
Mhm.
them. It's like, yeah, you've been trained to do
Yeah.
this. I appreciate it. Listen, I mean, some have helped. I'm just saying, like, when it comes from somebody who's really been there, it's more powerful.
Yeah.
So all my mentors, my pastor, oh my gosh, the
Yeah.
story of the world he has,
Mhm.
and it's like
Mhm.
that's why it's like these are the people that the Lord has brought into my life,
Yeah.
and it's just been a really amazing experience on how fast he's worked through
Hmm.
me to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Because when I was using my skill sets without him, like I got to do things, but not this,
No.
right? Not this. I
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
encouraging the negativity
Yeah.
instead of like saying like, hey y'all,
Ooh.
I feel you,
Yeah.
not, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like that was it.
Hmm.
Cause my first rap group was like,
Hmm.
we got to tour everywhere, but we were like partiers and drinkers and
Yeah.
doing drugs and all these things. And I thought that was just the life, and the Lord's like, no, that's not it. That's
No.
not it,
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you got to
Mhm.
remember our story. What we've been through is people. I know people will say that this is crazy, but it is to glorify Him.
It
It
is.
really is. It is to
Yeah.
let people see that
Yep.
only Him.
Yeah.
Only Him. He could have gotten
Yeah.
us through this. We would
Mm.
have died
Amen.
out there, Brandon. Brandon, I was out there
Amen.
drinking and
Yeah.
partying
Me
and
too.
bar
Mm.
hopping, man
Yes, ma'am.
hopping,
Yeah.
and even all the things.
I understand.
When I think of even being out there and being sexually active the way that I was, just everywhere,
Yeah.
unprotected and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
I could have caught AIDS.
Yeah.
That was actually during the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
Could have been on
Hmm.
crack cocaine. I
Yeah.
could have
Hmm.
been on drugs, things like
Yeah.
that. I never
Yeah.
tried drugs ever. I never
Oh.
tried drugs.
Mm. God
But
bless you.
I've been, the alcohol. My mom was alcoholic. She was 47 when she passed away, as a
Mm.
result of her
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism. I mean, like I can go
Hmm.
on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everything that I've ever been through, I know now it is just it's just to glorify God, so people can
Hmm.
understand how
Hmm.
powerful He is. You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah. No, that's absolutely it. And
Yeah.
you said some powerful things there. It's like you say, I haven't done drugs, but all those other things are just as important, if not worse. It's like when people think of addiction or people think of problems and mental health, we always want to relate it to drugs and alcohol. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's way more broader than that,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah.
You mentioned some things there that I'm like, yeah, hopping around from partner to partner unprotected and things like that is like, look, that is a part of a mental health side, right? And
Yes.
these are things that I've had to study and go through as well. And as we're preparing for our nonprofit on top of this as well. But it's like,
Yeah.
these are things that like people experience. You don't have to experience the drug side. Now, unfortunately, I had to, but I don't even want to say unfortunately. I say I was able to experience all of that.
Mhm.
And some of it came later on in my life. Some of it was like most of my life. Some of it was just part of it. But like at one point, I experienced that whole thing. So like I can even relate to the part that you were talking about, like, hey, you said man hopping. It was like I was woman hopping, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it was like the same
Mhm.
thing. And it's like when I look
Mhm.
back at that, I asked my wife this morning, I said, do you ever get like trauma
Mhm.
things that pop up for you? And she goes, no, not really. And I said, dang, I'm like, I do so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And it'll be that random time
Yep.
that I'm like, I can't believe I did that, or why did I do that, or what was I thinking? And it's like
Yes.
I had that happen to me this morning, and I'm like,
Mhm.
Lord, like as I start writing this memoir, not start it, but continue it, it's this piece that I'm just like, you reminded me when you said that I went back to, and I'm like, man, like it starts making me really feel the moment again,
Mhm.
but this time not in
Mhm.
a good way and more
Yeah.
of like a sympathetic way of
Yeah.
like, man, like some things have happened to me that like weren't really my fault.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then there were a lot of things that I caused that,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't make excuses for myself that whole way,
That's right.
but it was just like, man, Lord, like, thank you.
Mhm.
Like that
Mhm.
I'm not waking up in some random place anymore, or I'm not,
Yes.
like having these dark times,
Mhm.
and it's just like,
Mhm.
I can't be more thankful. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and honest and sharing that stuff too, because that's exactly like what
Mhm.
I want to get out of this. And even people reading my story and my books is
Yeah.
it's all real. It's real. It
It
really is.
is. And this is another thing too. I feel like until we tell our story, there are
Hmm.
people who are dying on our watch.
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason being, I think, is because we have experienced these things that we've experienced, not only for the glory of God, but because there are people who are assigned to our lives. You know,
Yes.
there are people
Oh,
that,
wow.
and until we show up,
Amen.
until we tell our story, they're dying. I know that when
Yeah.
I first released my book, oh
Hmm.
my God, the bullying, the pushback that I got from
Hmm.
my family, oh, I better not be in that
Hmm.
book and this, that. First of all, the story is about my life.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
Through
you
your
are a
eyes and what
part of
you
that.
experienced.
Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, you
Yes,
guys
ma'am.
are a part of that because y'all did not play your part the way that you should have. You were
Yeah.
assigned to protect me. And I get it. Listen, I give you grace
Mm,
because
that's so
you
good.
were young, you didn't know yourself. And so I have forgiven. But don't bully me and be mad at me because I decided to get this cancer out of my body. I'm
Whew.
going to tell my story. I'm going to tell my
Mm,
story. And when I first wrote my
that's so
book
good.
and I was getting the pushback, I took the book down. God came
Hmm.
to me. So, na, 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 na.
Yeah.
He sent me, it's this book. I got to remember this book I had. And I had
Uh,
bought it long before I wrote my own book. But
yeah.
I'll remember it in a minute. But I read this book and it was talking about me telling my story and being bullied and
Yeah.
things like that. I said, it's nothing but God speaking. So called my publisher back. I said, hey,
Mm,
put your book back up. So whatever is to come, come on, bring it on. Because I'm gonna tell my story.
yeah.
Y'all don't mind me dying and having
Amen.
this cancer eat me alive because of all this
Mm,
trauma that happened to me, because y'all didn't do what you were supposed to do. Okay?
mm, mm,
And
that's
and, and
powerful.
so no, I mean I love
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
hey, and it was hard. It was hard, Brandon. So yeah,
Mm,
to tell your
I understand.
story,
Oh,
yeah.
I understand that, and it's good that you mentioned that. I know I had read through a lot of the stuff that you had sent me,
Mhm.
and really good stuff. And
Yeah.
part two of the book, by the way, which I've got
Yeah.
right here, it's still walking.
I love it.
Um, a part two is called "The Wounds." And it
Ooh.
brings me to that section because
Mhm.
there's three people I talk about directly here, right?
Mhm.
Scarlet and Snow is the name of this chapter, and it's about my mom,
Ooh.
who I disconnected with, about 3 years ago now because of the addiction issues, the lying, the manipulating that goes with all of that. And
Yeah.
we can go on and on and on about that story. We're not going to do that because, see, it wasn't that I was putting my mother on blast on this.
Yeah.
My thing was I was talking about the disconnection and how that hurt me and affected me, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I didn't want to do it as exposure because that wasn't it. And I even, mentioned, hey mom, I love you and I really pray for you and hope that, things can turn around for you like they did for me.
Yeah.
But Scarlet and Snow is like a really tough one to
Yeah.
read. And I would encourage anybody watching this, or even yourself, if you haven't been able to read that part two called "The Wounds," because the other one was called Wound of a Brother, which was a pastor slash best friend of mine. That one, it goes really deep into a hurtful relationship. Not only was he my pastor, he was my best friend.
Oh,
And
wow.
just the ending that was, yeah. And then the
Hmm.
Exodus was about my ex-wife,
Hmm.
who was an abusive alcoholic. See, because what people don't realize is, and I want to make a little bit of awareness of this, is that um, women aren't always the object of abuse.
Yes.
Men can be too. It's just that we don't talk about it as much because we're men and we're wired and conditioned to not do that according to society. We shouldn't talk about the way we've been abused, we've been hurt because we look. There's many of names I could call us or that we would
Hmm.
be classified that I'm
Yeah.
not going to do right here, but that I realized that I was holding inside because it's like, man, I don't want to look like this or I don't want to look like that. I'm a dude. Like you can't get it. Yes, we can get abused. We absolutely
Yes.
can.
Yes.
By women, by men, it doesn't matter. And I have on both
Yeah.
sides,
Hmm.
right? But I never wanted to be honest and open about that. But my ex-wife was that physically and mentally abusive.
Hmm.
And we don't hear that from men that often. We just
Hmm.
don't.
Yeah.
And am I ashamed to talk about it now? No, I'm not, because
Hmm.
I know that there are plenty more out there that
Hmm.
are going through that.
Hmm.
And we
Yep.
only hear about the women that are getting that abuse. We don't usually
Hmm.
hear about it. And I have a heart for everybody that goes through abuse. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but I'm
Hmm.
specifically just talking about the men version because of
Hmm.
how we are wired, because of how society looks at us, because of how women would look at us, especially if we're in the dating scene or whatever. It's like women might look at us like, oh, you can't protect me. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like there has to be boundaries there. And it's like nobody deserves that kind of abuse, being
Absolutely.
that there's trauma from that person and they take it
Hmm.
out on you. And as a man,
Hmm.
I'm not hitting a woman. That's just not what I do.
Right.
Right. So it's
Right.
like you have to take that abuse. And for five
Yeah.
years, I tried. And
Hmm.
biblically, the Lord does not want divorce,
Hmm.
and I was like, well, I can't get a divorce, because that's not what the Lord wants. I'm the provider here too. I can't just leave her and her kids to just fend for themselves. And I remember my best friend the one night just said, "How long are you gonna be miserable?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I was laying in bed one night. He said, "Well, like?" I was like, "I don't know what you mean." Yeah, he goes, "You're miserable there." And I go, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I said, he goes, "Well, the Lord will forgive you." And he's agnostic. And he said
Hmm.
that. And I said, "Well, man,
Wow.
you're actually right." And then I
Hmm.
said, "Well, she can't. I'm her provider, her and her kids." And he goes, "Well, she'll figure it out." And it was like that was the beginning of still walking. To be completely honest with you, that was the
Wow.
beginning of where the Lord really started working through my life to turn everything around because I was sitting in misery, chained in hell, basically for 5 years and holding back everything. I mean, I was even like so insecure. I got up to like 260 pounds, believe it or not. And like, it was just like, I look back at that now and I said, I thought my life was over at that age. And that was, you know what I mean? Like, I thought my life was already, I mean, I was already in my late 30s, something, I don't know. And I thought my life was over. And here I've got this like brand new life that the Lord had all along for me that I'm like, wow, like, you just never know when you surrender what will change in your life,
Come
but
on, somebody.
you have to be willing to surrender. If you're not willing to surrender,
Yeah.
I mean,
Brandon,
we have we have the stories.
I have got to introduce you to my husband. I have got to I think
Mm,
you guys will definitely hit it off.
yeah, I'd
And
love
he
to.
needs to tell you his story too.
I'd love to hear it.
with him and his ex-wife. Now, me and my husband,
Mm.
we have a 40-year history, and one day we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Just not
Okay.
today.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But he is an amazing guy, and this man has been through it. He has been through it.
Mm.
And he's a deacon in his church,
Oh,
and
cool.
he has turned his life around. It's something that you guys got to meet. You just got to meet. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to convince him
Yeah. I'd love
to
to.
write a book. Yeah. I told myself one day we're gonna come
Okay.
on to Couch Conversations. We're gonna talk about because we grew
You
up together.
have
We
to.
grew up together, and I
Okay.
said we was
All
a
right.
hot
Okay.
mess. But oh my goodness, yeah. When you talk about the trauma, you said that you asked your wife about like, do sometimes you think about what you've been through and it's traumatic. I think what it is that it's an emotion that like I can't believe I've been through that. I can't believe I made it through that. Like
Yeah.
why? Because
Yeah.
while we're going through it, just like you said, while you was going through the thing with your ex-wife and the abuse and everything, you really don't
Mm.
understand the depths of it until you are away from it. You look back at it and you be like, oh wow, I went through that. I made it through that. That's crazy,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
I think that when I don't think it's reliving the trauma. I just think it's being reminded that I really made it through that. And I have just
Mm.
like one person I
Absolutely.
can thank for that, and that's God. That's as
Yeah.
simple as that, you
Absolutely.
know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes.
You got it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got that right. And it's
Mhm.
it's just it's so much more like meaningful. It's like, instead of sitting there saying, why did this happen to me? It's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
like, thank
Mhm.
you, Lord, for allowing this, when it's like, instead of saying like, yeah, and I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm going to be completely 100 here because, like, that's another thing the Lord has allowed me to do is just completely be honest about stuff. But like, there's still times where I'll be like, why did this have to happen? Like, why did this happen to me? It's like it
Mhm.
does. It still does. It really does. I don't know that that ever goes away. And it's
No, I
like
don't think
I will
so.
tell anybody watching or listening to this, including you and me, like it just doesn't. Like there are
Yeah.
times where we need that person to lean on, that person to talk to. And I don't think, and it's okay that like we don't, there's no blueprint to getting completely over the finish line,
Mhm.
and my wife and I are starting this, we just started this nonprofit called Mental Health and Jesus. And this is exactly what we're
Mm.
talking about is the fact that I didn't write a blueprint
Mhm.
to get you over to this glorious side. That's not my job. That's not what
Right.
that's what the Lord does, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just like helping and navigate with people who are like, hey, I've suffered with this. I love the Lord. I want to be better, but like I don't think I have enough faith, or I don't think I pray enough, or it's like, no,
Ooh.
no, no. Let's
Yeah.
not believe all the false
Mhm.
stuff. Let's
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Let's be more open and talk about those things because like I said, have I do I still deal with depression, anxiety? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Sometimes worse
Mhm.
than others.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's different seasons, whatever. And it's the cool thing about this is still walking. I wrote that and released that through a really difficult time of my life. But here's the interesting part. The interesting part about it is everything in my life right now is pretty good. I don't
Yeah.
have anything I can really complain about, right?
Mhm.
But the depression and the anxiety and the trauma has haunted me over this last year terribly.
Mhm.
And that's where this book was birthed out of.
Mhm.
It was just more of like the current events because when I discovered spoken word, I was like, wait a minute, I kind of already do that as a rapper. Like I can do this, and my oldest daughter, we went and saw her do it, and the Lord gave me the vision that day of saying like, hey, what if, or I would like you to do this for me in a more clean version and just go out and like share the gospel with this, but also make it family friendly. And I grabbed my oldest daughter and another lady I saw there who loved the Lord, and we started a group called Refiner's Fire. And that's kind of another way this was birthed out was I compiled my first 20 spoken words my insights about the spoken word and why I wrote it. And then there's a prayer at the end of each one for you to read
Yeah.
in that specific situation. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's all realistic, real stuff in my life that I know. I mean, it's been overwhelming with the amount of people that said, "Hey, this touched me," and it's like,
Exactly.
that's all it's about.
Mhm.
It,
Yeah.
it I had to go into this like thinking like I'm not coming into this for money. I'm not coming into
Mhm.
this for this. It's like if he Jesus left the 99 for the one, right?
Mhm.
And as I think about that, I think about, okay, if this book reaches one person and saves
Exactly.
their life, the Lord did what he needed to do
Hmm.
through me.
Hmm.
So that's just kind of like where I'm at with it. Like, yeah, I mean, hey, it'd be
Yeah.
awesome to be rich and famous, right? Like
Hmm.
that's always a
Right.
dream, but that's just not it
Just
anymore. That's not the
conversation.
goal, right? The goal
Right.
is like to help. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I love
Yeah.
what I do. I do. I love doing this. I love having these
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
It's just life giving now.
That's
Not
what I was
shame
gonna
anymore.
ask
It's life
you.
giving.
That's what I was gonna ask you. That's another thing too. How has like the spoken word like played the part of healing in your journey? Because I know
Yeah.
that you still
Um,
deal with the depression, the anxiety,
mm,
as do I. And I think
mm,
once we have that, like I
mm,
said, do it ever go away? I don't know, but I know that I have it, and every now and again it peeks its little ugly head, and
yeah.
but then I have
Yeah.
my tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it does go away for some and some it doesn't.
Hmm.
And that's upon my research, my study, my education, my background now with a lot of mental health and biblical stuff.
Hmm.
We're not all going to completely get rid of things.
Right.
God chooses us to do things.
Hmm.
It's just like when Paul was walking around, felt like he had that thorn in his
Uh huh.
side, and the Lord was like, "I'm not going to remove that because my grace is sufficient for you." Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And my wife constantly reminds me of that, and I'm like, "Oh man, like." I'm that guy, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm that guy. And it's like, it doesn't mean that like I'm gonna just completely go off the deep end again because like
Hmm.
I've learned kind of my lesson. But yeah, you're right about the carrying it and whatever. But I think that it's been very life giving to be able to share my story. It's therapeutic, right?
Ah. Hmm.
And it's this part of it. I graduated with a bachelor's in biblical studies recently
Oh,
because I thought,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. I thought my path was to be a pastor at a white megachurch. I'm just
Mhm.
going to throw it out there. That is not where the Lord is leading me, and I have a really interesting story we'll get into sometime with that, but I grew up in those types of churches with my grandmother, but as I got older I realized like I'm an inner city guy, like tattoos everywhere and piercing all this stuff, and I relate to the city, right? Exactly. So there's people that just we can reach, like people like you and I that can reach that. I don't belong, like I was telling my wife, and for those who don't know, my wife is a black lady and she is the most amazing human being I've ever met. We had a great friendship before we even dated and got married, but the Lord has really shown me that inner city is where I'm needed, and it's like as we were church hunting together, I'm like, there's so many places that like we visited that we're like, yeah, this is cool, but they're like, we're not needed here. We're not
Wow.
needed
Yeah.
here. And it's just like, we're an interracial couple. She's from east side of Cleveland. I'm from Akron, of every side of Akron. And it's just the Lord has just really adjusted my view.
Yeah.
So when I went to Bible college, I thought that I wanted to be a church pastor in a mega church. But what the Lord has revealed to me is not that.
Okay. Yeah.
This is what the Lord has been calling me to. And I'm not saying like doing any pastoral stuff is out of it. I'm saying like right now, though, going back to your question about this is like if you're a pastor, you just got to be careful of using your congregation as a therapy session.
Hmm.
Where this stuff here, it's not even therapy. It's just the fact of the matter is I can be a little bit more raw with my story here and be able to really and it really is to like talk about it. It's really meaningful for me, just because I know the amount of people that it's already touched and I'm just starting.
Yeah.
And again, what I'm saying to you is like that is life giving. That
Mhm.
is the most life giving thing I can do is share my story. So
Mhm.
even when I'm invited to preach somewhere,
Mhm.
the Lord's like, look, I mean, a lot of the time you're going to hear pastors resorting to characters in the Bible. That is great. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm all for that. However, I don't. I relate. I'll take the scripture that I'm teaching on, I'll relate it to my own life.
Yes.
Because I think that's what speaks to people because you don't know who's going to walk in the church doors. I mean, there's unbelievers all the
Yeah.
time. There's people
Mhm.
doubting their faith. There's people who want to commit suicide that day, and this is their last resort. That was me at one point, right?
That was me.
That
Yeah.
okay. See, there you go.
Yep.
So it's like I walk through the doors as a last resort because I'm like, okay, God, like if you're real,
Yeah. You need to
what are we
you need to
doing,
you
man?
need to
You know
go
what I
ahead
mean?
and
Like, and
show
I
up.
knew I would get like positivity in the church because
Yeah.
I'm always like, why are all these people always so happy? This is
Hmm.
ridiculous. Like life ain't like that,
Yeah.
right? Um, I understand though, like what it means to like have faith, but I also talk about on the cover of my book, spoken word from the middle of faith, doubt, and calling.
Yes.
And those three things, it's okay to doubt faith and ask questions,
Mhm.
right? I think like we all do that, and God expects that. In fact, the ones who wrestle the most are probably the ones that care the most.
Mhm.
The ones that wrestle with that a lot because see, I'm more of like I got to dig into this because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, like and it's
Yeah.
okay. Like I've learned, like
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm gonna go to hell because I don't know if I believe all of this. You know what I mean? And God understands that, right? And He can
Yeah.
handle that. And the other thing I've learned is
Yeah.
God can handle my language. Sometimes I prefer to use when I'm alone with Him, and
Hmm.
I sometimes let it out,
Yeah.
and I've realized God can handle whatever we say to
Yeah.
Him. He just
Hmm.
wants us to bring it to Him raw and
Yes.
right there in
Hmm.
the middle, and again, I didn't even thank you, Holy Spirit. So from the middle of
Yeah.
faith, doubt, and calling, right? So it's like I'm called
Hmm.
to do this,
Hmm.
to share my story, but to always point it back to Jesus, right?
Hmm.
I do have a lot of doubt from the trauma and stuff I've been
Hmm.
through God answering it in his own timing and not Brandon's timing. I still
Right.
don't understand that,
Yeah.
right? As a human being in the flesh, I'm like, no,
Yeah.
God, I need this now, and just having that faith and faith
Hmm.
is what we don't see,
Yeah.
believing what we don't see. But my thing was always like, well, like how can I have faith when all I've seen is like negative stuff happen to me
Yeah. Yeah.
or to others or
Yeah.
whatever the case is.
Hmm.
And it's like I think it does get harder for people like you and I, let's say, that have this crazy story. I think it can get difficult for us to have that strong faith because we're like, well, we haven't seen a lot of positive in people or in our own lives. So how do we have this faith in the unknown, right? And I
Hmm.
think that's been the hardest thing. So
Yeah.
it's like in the middle of that, yeah, there's going to be doubt with
Yeah.
even the best of the best.
Yeah.
There's going to be doubt. There's going to
Yeah.
be God calls us to things that we just I always say this. I'm like, I always know when God's talking because it's something I don't want to do.
Okay.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I have to do that. I have to do that. And I'm just like, oh man, like,
Hey.
and I've really had to like die to self for that
Right.
because there's been so many times I'll sit there and like, I'm like, darn it, Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, I'll get up and I do it because I'm like, I know that that's what I have to do.
Hmm.
And I used to be the most selfish person on this planet.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, like I used to
Really.
be so selfish. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
wow.
Yeah, I was a complete, like, I was a jerk for sure.
Oh.
I went through a lot of phases of just like, I think it was just like a lot of, transitioning from like back in the day from a Christian school and a Christian home with my grandmother
Yeah.
to inner city Akron Public, not
Hmm.
knowing what the real world really looked like. And it just like brought all this negative emotion on. So I had to go into survival mode most of my life. I think you
Yeah.
can understand what
Oh
survival
yeah.
mode looks like.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was trying to impress people I didn't even like and didn't even know I didn't like, right? Or people that I didn't really, and those are the people I wanted to impress, with my cars, with my clothes, with, the way I talked, just the things I did. I was impressing everyone.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, that got me nowhere,
Right.
Um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is some things that you wish that the
Mm,
church would understand
mhm,
about mental health? Because let me
mhm,
say this.
mhm,
When it comes to mental health in the church,
mhm.
for some odd reason, and listen, I get why they're saying it. It's like, oh, just pray about it.
Yeah.
Oh, just pray
Mhm,
it off.
mhm, mhm.
Yes, prayer is powerful, and yes, that's the first thing we do is go to God. Yes, we pray, but what
Mhm,
do you think that the church, that the
mhm,
Christians should really
mhm.
understand about mental health?
Yeah. So one of the things that we're going to be focusing on is like equipping leaders to understand it better, because I think that it's misunderstood in the church. It's not that I don't think they're not neglecting it on purpose. They just aren't educated on it.
Yes.
Because when it comes to the Bible, we look at a lot of faith and stuff, but when we dig in and we look at guys like David, Job, Elijah, those guys, I mean,
Hmm.
they suffered with a
Hmm.
lot of mental health problems, right? And they're big characters in the
Yeah.
Bible. Paul was
Yeah.
another one, and I talk about that a lot. And
Hmm.
I think what we're missing here is that, again, we're not equipped well enough in the churches, and the only way they know how to respond is you need more prayer, more faith. And I know that we've
Yeah.
talked about that throughout this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
And that used to, excuse me, piss me off a
Yeah.
lot when
Hmm.
I would hear that, because I'm like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, like I
Yeah.
believe God's real.
Right.
I do
Yeah.
pray,
Yeah.
and he has changed things, but he hasn't completely lifted this from me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when the Lord gave me the vision of mental health and Jesus,
Hmm.
it was because it's the one thing that I still deal with, right? It's the one thing that's still um, is lingering. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, Lord, like I've prayed about this for years and it's still here. And again, I go back to the thorn in Paul's side, where the Lord
Hmm.
says, I'm not going to remove that because my grace is sufficient for you. And I just feel like he does choose some of us to carry certain things, right?
Hmm.
And I think that we need to be aware of the fact that there are chemical imbalances within the brain.
Hmm.
There are different things that happen to our bodies because none of us are perfect. We live in a fallen world. So we need to address the real concerns here, because not all of it is spiritual.
Hmm.
Everybody will experience depression and anxiety at some point in their life, but not everyone lives with it. Not everyone has a severe case of it, right?
Right.
So people can all say, I've been depressed before. Sure, I know.
Hmm.
I'm sure you have. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody's lost someone. Everybody's, something has happened to make you depressed. But to live with it, to wake up and think, why am I sad? Why do I want to go have this drink? Why do I want to go do whatever it is that I do to get my endorphins rolling, right, each day, because I can't seem to find joy?
Right.
And I think that the biggest thing is like walking alongside of those people who are like, but I love the Lord. It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
you probably do. I'm
Hmm.
with you on that,
Yeah.
and I do too. But unfortunately, to us, we were chosen to carry this to help others, and we need
Hmm.
we need those
Yes.
people that still have to carry this and
Hmm.
may not completely defeat it. And I truly believe that the Lord has chosen some of us for that reason, because we are needed on the front lines to help fight
Hmm.
against mental health, and
Hmm.
that's the biggest part of this journey. Is like, I'm very honest, like I have not defeated that. I
Yeah.
have not
Yeah.
defeated
Yeah.
that. It has
Yeah.
it has gotten better,
Yeah.
and I resort
Yeah.
to better things now. I don't resort
Yeah.
to drugs and alcohol
Yeah.
and sleeping
Yeah.
around doing any of that stuff. But
Uh-huh.
It has improved,
Yeah.
and the closer I get with the Lord, the better it does go, right? The
Mm-hmm.
more positive people I put in my life. Like, I prayed
Yes.
for an amazing wife for 2 or 3 years
Mm-hmm.
before I knew who my wife
Mm-hmm.
was. I just
Mm-hmm.
would pray to the Lord, like, send me the person. And it's
Yeah.
funny because we don't envision that person to be who they are, and then the Lord's
Yeah.
like, but this is the person that you need, right? But like, in my mind, I didn't picture my wife to be a certain way, and it was just like, and then when the Lord revealed us to each other, I'm like, oh my, really? But it's like I couldn't have picked anybody better,
Yeah.
and the Lord
Yeah.
knew, like, this is the person I needed in order to even complete any of my mission moving forward.
Yes.
Because without my wife,
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't. I
Yeah.
couldn't. She's my biggest fan, my supporter. She works with me full time on
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, and I mean, it's been a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So, but that was a 3 year prayer,
Yeah.
3 year
Yeah.
prayer before
Yeah.
she entered my life, and
Yeah.
man, it's been amazing. But
Yeah.
my wife also gets to see the other side of it, right? Which we don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about either. Is she's a loved one. She's had to see her mom deal with it, the
Yeah.
oldest daughter deal with it, me deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So she has this other piece that says, like, she doesn't have the mental health portion, but she has walked with so many people that have, and she
Yes.
is amazing at
Yes.
that part of it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my
And
gosh,
we
like,
need
this is
people
your
like
part of
her.
this.
We need
Oh
people
my
like
gosh.
her, for
So
people
many
like
people like her,
us,
yeah.
because
Yes.
those are the
Yes,
people
because
who help put us back in check,
yes,
bring us back
exactly.
to
And she's
reality. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and she
Mm-hmm.
she shows a lot of God's love and grace through
Mm-hmm.
that, which is something I've never seen, because a lot of people that don't
Yes.
deal with mental health will give up on you, or it
Mm-hmm.
causes more problems with you and
Yep.
relationships or whatever. And
Trauma
it's like, it
bond
hasn't
and
with her. Yeah, it hasn't with her. I just get to see
yeah.
more of God through her and his love
Mm-hmm.
and grace. And I'm like, if this is really how God loves, like, my wife, then, like, man, we do have an awesome God.
Yeah.
So he's been able to show me that through her, which has
Mm-hmm.
been an incredible experience for me as well,
Yeah.
because it's the first non-toxic relationship I've ever been
Mhm.
in, ever,
Yeah.
up to this point.
Yeah.
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 And it's so crazy. You said that going back to where you said when God showed you, you was like, "What, really?" It was the same way with me and my husband. We have this. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we have this history for almost 40 years, for a
Yeah.
really long time, a long
Hmm.
time, 30 some odd years. And
Hmm.
what I can remember from my now, Brandon, I've been married 7 times. He is my seventh husband. And there
Okay.
was a time that I was very, 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 very ashamed to say, how many times I've been married. I'm not anymore, because I
Hmm.
believe that I've learned lessons through all of those relationships, and they happen for
Yeah.
a reason. But I can remember
Yeah.
after my last divorce, I was like, I'm never getting married again. I'm just never getting married
Hmm.
again.
Been
Ever, ever,
there.
ever.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, yes, you are. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not. And I meant that. I meant that. But
Yeah.
one thing that I realized too is that, like, the person that I am, I'm a
Hmm.
wife. I'm not a girlfriend.
Hmm.
I'm not.
Hmm.
I'm not this side chick. I'm a wife.
Amen.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be married again one day. So
Yeah.
I started sort of kind of prepping my mind and things like that for it. And I'm like, God,
Yeah.
I wonder who it's gonna be, and this, that, and the other. And for
Yeah.
some reason, this is no lie. I had a
Mm.
picture of my husband. I hadn't seen him in a little while, but had a picture of him and had it in my closet because I used to always look at it, because I've always been in love with him, like
Aw.
from day one, like
Yeah.
day one,
That's
30 some
sweet.
odd years ago.
Yeah.
And
That's sweet.
I used to look at this picture and I'm like, I love him. I wish I could find someone like him. When God told me it
Yeah.
was going to be him, I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So I went on
Yeah.
about my
Yeah.
business, started dating somebody, this African
Yeah.
dude, went to Africa
Yeah.
with them, all this, that,
Mm.
and the other. And
Mm.
on my birthday, I got a call from my husband. And
Mm.
we know each other so well. When I answered the phone, I knew something was wrong. And so I was like, what's the matter? He said, oh, no, no, nothing, nothing, nothing. I was like, what? I said, I said, as soon as I touch down in California, I'm getting on the next flight. I'm on my way home. And I did. I came home to
Mhm.
find out. So
Mhm.
there's a lot that goes with that story. But the thing
Yeah.
is that I never thought it would be him. I always thought it was going to be this tall, dark, handsome, okay? Somebody working in the medical field with mix. I'm a
Yeah.
nurse. I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
no, that's not what God did. My
Yeah.
husband is not
Yeah.
tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah.
My husband is average height, red
Yeah.
bone.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
He
I
just,
know.
but he is
Yeah.
amazing. He's everything that I
Yeah.
need because I
Yeah.
was one in relationships. I was the runner, honey. He's a runner too, but it's just
Yeah.
something about
Oh,
this
I get that.
marriage. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I understand. Trust me.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
man has
I'm on
taught
my,
me how to stay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm on my third marriage.
yeah,
So like I completely understand.
yeah,
I definitely do believe like I was made to be a husband and
mhm,
a father for sure,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And those are the greatest gifts that I could be given, And
Hmm.
I'm like,
Hmm.
I look at my wife every day, I'm like, I'm so undeserving of her,
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I know I'm still a handful to deal with, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean it's funny to me because
yeah,
like yeah, I'm with you. Like I pictured this
yeah,
totally different person, and my
yeah,
wife is the most beautiful human being to me
yeah.
inside
I
and
love
out,
her.
But yeah, she's amazing. She's incredible.
Yeah,
But it's just
yeah,
funny because it's like it's not the vision. We paint this picture, right?
yes.
And it's not just with like with partners, but it's like it's with a lot of things. Like I painted this vision of my life a long time ago of what I wanted it to be, and
Hmm.
it's completely
Hmm.
opposite, Like
Yeah,
I wanted to
yeah.
be this like blue collar corporate guy like my dad, And
Okay.
and then here I am all tatted up
Yeah, yeah.
into hip hop music and writing books now and in ministry
Hmm.
and all this stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah,
man, if you would have told me this even 10 years ago, I'd have said you're crazy and you
yeah,
need help, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But here I am talking to you, and it's just
yeah,
like about this, and
yeah.
it's just been an incredible experience.
Hmm.
And again,
Hmm.
reading your story and learning more about
Yeah,
you, wow,
yeah,
how incredible!
yeah,
You're a prime example
yeah.
of what this book here is about.
Yeah, and I started your book actually.
Mm.
And when I start, your book is fire just from the jump. It
Mm.
is so good just from the jump. And I said, God, I've been trying to get back to it, but I've been so busy. But I'm about to
I
get back
understand.
to it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna jump ahead to part two real
Yeah,
quick. Then I'll go back because
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
Yeah, look. You got me. You listen. You got me curious. I'm like, oh,
The
I got to
wounds.
read it now.
Yeah,
Now I
yeah,
got to
yeah,
read
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, let me ask you this.
Sure.
What would you say to somebody today that is feeling hopeless or
Mhm.
just feel like they just can't go on, like this depression, this anxiety, it's got me, it's one, I'm done.
Man, that's such a powerful question, because not having hope is something I'm
Whew.
very familiar with, right?
Mhm.
Not feeling hope, not seeing hope, and everybody's different in this aspect. I've walked alongside of some people and tried to help out in areas like this. But first of all, you have to be receptive to change.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying like you need to change like your illness. Like illness is an illness. Like that is what
Yes.
it is. Like, and I'm not saying you can't be cured of it. And I would never tell anybody you can't
Yeah.
be. But I would say this, like me surrounding myself with
Mhm.
community. You are who you hang out with. I'm going to tell you this right now. I have learned that firsthand. Okay.
Mhm.
One of the hardest things it was to change was to tell some of these people, like, I can't, I got to move this way, and y'all are over here, right? And
Yeah.
I'm talking like it was probably 95% of the people in my life.
Mhm.
And the hardest part is a lot of that was family too, right? Um, and I don't ever want to tell everybody just to take what I'm saying and like do that. I'm not saying that like go out there and get rid of your family. Don't do that. I'm saying like you have to build community of
Mhm.
like-minded people, right?
Mhm.
That is like the number one thing I've realized. I say this, you need to keep a counselor in your back pocket,
Yes.
a
Yep.
pastor in your back pocket.
Yep.
you got to have somebody that you can trust at all times. You know what I mean? Like those three things are super, super, super important.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, sit still and be single if you have to,
Yep.
because don't, I always thrive to be in a relationship and be loved, and I think everybody can probably relate to that, right? We all want to be loved, we all fall in love, or we think we do, and we think we know what love is. And that was something I always thrived for, because I think with me growing up, I didn't feel that as much after my grandmother. So I forced that on myself. And I would say, like, I remember the day it was crazy. I looked at her picture on the wall, which I have right over here, and I said, okay, she was single as I was growing up. And I was like, and she loved the Lord and did so well in life. And when I look at that, I said, I remember saying, Lord, if she can do it, I can do it.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen to everybody, but 2 months later is when he revealed my wife to me, when I told him
Mhm.
I would be single from now on. But I'm telling you, like, one of the biggest things, honestly, with hope is the community and the people that you surround yourself with. That might sound really
Absolutely.
cliche, and it may be something that people are like, "Come on, Brandon."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, what works for me may not work for you, but I can tell you what I have done.
Yeah.
But I can also tell you this, and I can be straight up honest with you. Like, I am not completely healed of
Hmm.
depression and anxiety.
Hmm.
I'm not telling you that right now at all. And I am not ashamed to say that. But what I am saying is, the more that I connect with my community, the more that I connect with my wife, and the more that I just keep moving and going and
Right.
telling my story, it does give me hope, because there are many of days I still would rather not get out of bed,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I've lost hope in this area and this area
Hmm.
and this area. We're
Hmm.
always, 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 always going to have something going on in our lives, right?
Absolutely.
But what our pastors say, he would say, everything's not going good, but everything's not going bad,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And I think where my mind usually wants to go to is like the negative stuff, and I think a lot of people can probably relate to that don't have hope, right?
Hmm.
Not all of our prayers are going to be answered. It's just not, and if they do get answered, they're not always like what we think it should be or what it's
Right.
going to be,
Hmm.
right? But I mean, you just, man. Hope
Yeah.
is just such a tough thing sometimes. It's a
It
really
is.
hard journey. So that's why I say it's a powerful question. But the one thing I feel like the Lord has just downloaded in me, and the Holy Spirit, is like community, community,
Yeah.
community, community. The people around you is going to really
Hmm.
be there to hold you up when you can't.
Yeah. And
Now,
that's
if you
number
hang out with
one.
people who are hanging out in the bars and the streets and doing drugs and all that stuff, that's what you're going to do, and it's going to heal you for about a day, and then the
Yeah.
next day you're going to be 20 times worse. So,
Exactly. Because
just
it's
saying,
almost
I've
like
been there,
start,
done that
restart.
too. Yep,
Yeah.
where you feel filthy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nasty, and all
Yep.
these things have happened
Yep.
the night before, and you're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you
Yeah.
carry more of that burden on you. So, like, that, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was going through this thing where, because I've been in California for over 20 years. That's where my community
Yeah,
is. But I always thought those are my friends, those are my people. And it
absolutely.
took me to come here to Akron, Ohio to realize those are not my friends. Those are not
Yeah,
that's not my community. That
yeah.
isn't where I belong. I ride Harleys. So, and
Mm,
I was in a motorcycle club and I thought this is sisterhood and this is where I'm supposed to be. But there was
mm,
so much and I'm going to actually do a podcast on it. In
mm,
in the motors on the motorcycle set, there is just so much mental health craziness. I
mm.
can't even begin to explain it. But I
Mm.
always thought that, well, I'm around my sisters, and I'm okay, and I'll be okay long as I don't get involved in that stuff or that stuff. It's not
Right.
true. You
No.
are who you hang with.
Yes, ma'am.
It's true.
Yep.
So
It
now
is
here
true.
I am in Akron, Ohio, and I have no friends here, and I even have family. I have family, but I don't have a relationship with my family.
Mm, mm.
And it I get really, really, really sad about it, and I feel very lonely. But the one thing that I know, it it is I do believe it's because I'm on this path. God has me on this journey. Just like I have a nonprofit, Kouch Transformation Enterprise, is to
Yeah.
help women and girls.
Yeah.
I just launched a girls mentorship. I never wanted to
Oh
work with
wow.
teenage girls. I never that was the
Right.
and
That's
I'm
gonna be
like, God,
tough.
listen, that's not my plan.
No,
Why do you
it's not, but it's his.
so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so you're
Hmm.
right. It is about who you surround yourself. And I'm not surrounded by anybody but my husband right now. That's it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when I say that I am very intentional in this season about who I allow in my space, who I connect myself with, the
Hmm.
conversations that I have with people, is very important to me.
Hmm.
I wrote a book called Cut Off. I'm estranged
Hmm.
from two of my children. My son, which is 42 years old, then I have another daughter that's, I think she's 38, 30, and I'm estranged from her for the second time because
Hmm.
I let me tell you something. God ain't playing in this season. Okay?
Hmm.
He is not
Hmm.
playing in this season. I have, when it comes to my ministry, what I needed to do for God, it has always been people who has interfered with that. And then I was like, okay,
Hmm.
God, I'll come back to it as soon as I finish helping them. Or and along the way, and sad to say, my own children was a part of it.
Hmm.
That they
Yep.
came and they used and abused and I just couldn't. It was just no more. And then when I started saying no, it was like, oh, they didn't disappeared. They hate me
Yep.
now. I'm a horrible
Yep.
mom and all this, that, and the other.
Hmm.
Well, okay,
Yep.
be it as it may. But if you have
Yeah.
to be amongst the people that I cannot have a relationship with right now, I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
one thing that I'm gonna do, this ministry here that God has assigned me to, it's gonna move forward. And I'm not
Yes, man.
allowing nobody else and nothing else
Yeah.
to interfere with that. Hands
Yeah.
down.
I think, and like two things, just real quick that you said, like with talking about the children, that can be tough, and it's like and I keep saying this, the older they get, the harder it can be, and there comes a time where we have to give them to the Lord, and that's the hardest part because my wife and I were talking yesterday that there's a love for a child that like you don't understand it. If you don't
Yeah.
have a child, you don't understand it. It's a whole
Yeah.
different love. It's a different love than a spouse. It's a different love. And the hardest part is to have to disconnect or have to just, but we are still their example, right? And
Mhm.
it can be really tough. So I can understand that. My youngest, he's only 15, but man, the changes that have happened in the last year have been frightening.
Yes.
And I'm like, I see my 15-year-old self in him now, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
Lord, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And it's just scaring me, a lot. On a
Mhm.
brighter note, the thing that you mentioned was your motorcycle stuff. My wife loves motorcycles. She has her own motorcycle. She needs people to yeah.
Tell her to call me.
So
Call me.
yeah, yeah. So she's been yeah, it's at her old house still in the garage. We just moved,
Mhm.
but we have to go get it here soon and she wants to take it out. So I'll have to let her know because when you
I'm
said that I'm
game.
like,
Yes, I am
yeah,
game.
yeah, she loves that stuff. Like
You
that's
see,
that's her thing. It's not my thing, but I'm okay with it. Like I support
yeah.
it if that's what she likes
Yeah.
to do. So that would
My
be cool for
husband
you guys
rides
to be
too.
able to do
My
that.
husband rides too.
Does he
And
really? Cool.
I travel all over. I travel state to state.
Oh, that's so neat.
So yeah,
Okay.
I do. Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
it's
she's
one of
gonna
my
love
favorite
that.
things. Oh yeah, I love
Yeah,
it, love
she's
it,
gonna
love it.
love that. You guys have to
Yeah,
connect on that for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
Brandon, look, I want to ask a few more questions because I got so many questions, but I know we are not gonna be able to get through all of them. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
one of the one things that I wanted to ask, what do you hope that people get from your book when they read it?
Yeah. Wow. There's so much that went into this, and I was looking over. I have my laptop in front of me because I was going through this stuff, and I was like taking the questions seriously because I'm like, whenever anybody wants to interview me or like talk to me about this stuff, I always want to make sure that like, okay, what are we talking about? Like, what do you want to know? And I feel like I can't even find that question on here. It's okay though.
Uh,
Um, I feel like the thing that I would want people to get the most is hope, to
mhm.
be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because when I share my parts of my story, I've done, and from experience, I know people are like, "Hey, this one spoke to me," and I'm like, "Oh wow, really?"
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know what you're going through when you're
Hmm.
reading this. I don't know
Hmm.
what part. So here, the cool thing about what the Lord did for this book was He put together different situations, right? Different things. Like we go from um starting off by dying to self with the shift to like wounds to, hold on one second, I just want to kind of open this up. I haven't memorized everything in this book, but
Hmm.
the inner battle of the shift and clothed in his image, like things like that, to the wounds, to the
Hmm.
breaking point, to
Hmm.
rebuilding, to love and legacy, eternal perspective, and still becoming, right? So you have a little bit of everything in there. So I just gave you a little tiny piece of things that I have been through in real stories, right? And this is just, like I said, this is just getting started. Like I'm going to really expand on all this in the memoir. But I think that like no matter what part you read, I mean, you can read about loving fashion, for instance, right? And putting that above everything, but also how it can bring us insecurity. It's like I'm a huge fashion guy. I love fashion. I'm a sneakerhead. I have my wife yells at me still,
Me.
but it's okay. She doesn't yell at me. She was just like she's blown
I
away
like
by it.
me
I've been that way
sneaker.
for okay. So yeah, I love sneakers. I love fashion. I enjoy that stuff. I keep up with it. I'm like a child at heart when it comes to it. But I have something called Clothed in His Image. And the
Yeah.
reason I did that was because sometimes we can get too caught up in what we look like. And I look, I'm never gonna not love fashion and sneakers. I'm
Hmm.
just sorry,
Hmm.
Lord, I'm just not, and I don't feel bad about it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's just who I am, and it's okay
Hmm.
as long as it doesn't become an idol, right? But
Exactly.
I wrote about that and what it means to be clothed in His image, and like sometimes I don't know if you've ever been there. I'm sure a lot of people have, but it's like I write about the fact of you put on this outfit that you think you're going to look this way in because you saw the model rocking it online, and you put it
Yeah.
on. You're like, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
I don't look good in this. I
Hmm.
shouldn't wear this. And it's like, well, why do we say those things?
Yeah.
And it's like, because I know there's been many a times I put on something, I'm like, man, this looked good on that person, but don't look good on me,
Hmm.
or I'm 45, I can't do this. And it's like, well, no, like we
Hmm.
can, like
Hmm.
it's a confidence booster in there, of talking about that. The chair talks about,
Hmm.
um, church hurt, for instance, and walking with people who went through church hurt and
Hmm.
what that looks like. I mean, my best friend pastored the
Yeah.
church for I mean, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
it's rough, and then
Yeah.
that rebuilding phase, the
Mhm.
rebuilding phase just really shows the hope of like, what does that look like? And then
Yeah.
love and legacy. Everybody wants to, I mean, I have a part here called To My Chocolate Queen. That's to my wife,
Mhm.
and like people love that piece
Yeah.
because I feel like it's probably it's one of the best things that happened in my life,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then right to follow that is called Bonus Daughter, which is her oldest daughter. She called me Bonus Dad when we had gotten married, and she was
Uh-huh.
the one I thought I was gonna struggle with the most. She just moved to Chicago, but she's just a special person to me, and it's
Yeah.
the daughter I never had, so I get to
Oh,
write about those things. So it's hope,
yeah.
it's really centered around hope. You can read that and say, man, like I've
Yeah.
been there. And then the thing is, I get to put my insight on it and saying like, here's why I wrote this. I wrote this because,
Yeah.
and it's like you don't even realize through the spoken word, you might not know until I break it down for you on why I wrote "Wound of a
Yeah.
Brother." So when
Yeah.
I'm telling you that my best friend was also my pastor and was supposed to be the best man at my wedding and never showed up, you know what I mean? Like that,
Wow. Was that the
that.
hardest chapter that you wrote, you think?
I was angry when I wrote that.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but I don't feel bad about it. I mean, I was real careful
Hmm.
to point everything back to Jesus, but I did not hold back the rawness because I think it's
Yeah.
okay to have righteous anger.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
if your homegirl was like your pastor, your best friend, she was gonna be your maid of honor, and then y'all fell out because of some stuff she did, and she didn't
Mhm.
even show up to your wedding, I'm sure you'd feel a certain way. So if you're
Oh yeah.
writing about it, right, you're probably not writing about it from a place of love at that point. You
Hmm.
have to give it to God.
And
So
that's
I
okay.
probably,
And that's okay.
yeah, it is okay. So I wrote probably from a place of anger, but
Mm-hmm.
when I speak it, people
Mm-hmm.
are silent
Yeah.
because of the things that are said. But it's like, look, like it's real though.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I would say like I want people to find hope in this stuff. I want
Mm-hmm.
people to know that like anything is possible
Yeah.
and change is there if you
Yes.
want it. We
Yes.
have to still put in the work. I'm not telling
Mm-hmm.
you that you can
And
just
yeah,
sit
that
on a
work is
couch and
hard,
like
honey.
it is, because the Lord wants us to also give
Mhm.
him 100%, right? Not just 50, but like he'll work with us, right? But like we have to put in the work too. Like I know some people I've seen that sit around, they're like, oh, the Lord will do this. Well, yeah, he will, but you got to actually put in your part too, right? You can't just sit around and not do anything and then just think that it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I think. I'm hoping like motivation and hope are like
Mhm.
two of like the probably the most important things on this. And I mean, my contact information's in there. Anybody can reach out to me and talk to me. I love talking to people, and it is $0 and 0 cents to talk to me.
That's
So,
right.
which is awesome to be able to do. You know what I mean? Like I'm not charging
Yeah.
people to do that. So
Yeah.
I mean, like I just love doing that and like
Yeah.
walking alongside of people and like talking to them. So like I'm really hoping that my story can help others who are struggling in those areas as well. And I know from again from experience, there are certain pieces that have already spoke to others.
So Brandon,
Yeah.
when history tells your story, what do
Uh-huh.
you hope people will say? The man who was still walking.
Yeah, so I don't I don't necessarily want people to remember Brandon Hathaway. Like that's not what I
Mhm.
would want. I hope they can remember that they aren't alone, right? If 5 years, let's say 5 years from now, because I saw that you had put a question here, it said 5 years from now,
Mhm.
someone picks up this book during their darkest season and finds
Mhm.
hope in Jesus,
Mhm.
then this book accomplished exactly what it was supposed to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not writing
Mhm.
this for my legacy, my story. No, I mean, well, it's my story, but I'm not
Yeah.
writing it to glorify myself.
Yeah.
I'm literally just saying, like, I don't want them to remember, oh, Brandon Hathaway. No, because there's a lot of Brandon
Yeah.
Hathaways out there. There really are. And when I say that, I mean, we're all unique in ourselves, but I'm saying the struggles that I've been through, the struggles that you've been
Yes.
through.
Yep.
We're both. That's just what it is. But I just like I said, I hope they remember that they aren't alone.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that you are never alone. And
Mhm.
5 years, someone picks up that book and their darkest season and finds hope in
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. That's
Man,
what's up.
that's where
That's
it's
what's
at.
up.
That's where it's at. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
so Brandon, what's up? I mean, so what's next? What's happening next?
Man, so much. I have a devotional dropping on
Mm.
August 1st. I'll be at Joyful Interactions on West Market
Okay.
Street in Akron. Yeah, shout out to Joyful Interactions.
Hey.
I'll be Yeah, yeah. I'll be doing a book signing with Still Walking. I'll also be
Okay.
having my devotional release that day. It's a 30-day devotional, but it's also a very raw devotional. It's called One More Time. The reason it's called One More Time is because if you've ever had something in your life that you're doing that you know you shouldn't be doing, and you say, "Okay, I'm going to just do it this one more time, Lord," or you just tell yourself, "I'm just going to do it this one more time, and then I'm going to stop." What does that look like?
Yeah.
So, just to give you a little sneak peek, the reason I wrote that is from drug dealing into ministry.
Mm.
So, that's where I'll just leave it at that and just say that was part of my story. And now it's time to tell it through the devotional. So, that's why it's called One More Time, because I would just say,
Okay.
okay, Lord, one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it doesn't match up right
Right.
with who I was trying to be. So that's why I wrote One More Time. It's a banger. It's a banger
Yeah.
because I really feel in my heart that these devotionals each day, it's a 30-day devotional. I'm thinking about turning one into a 365 because this is a good
Mhm.
one. But I'm
Yeah.
telling you, those 30 days are super powerful. And I'm
Yeah.
super excited
Yeah.
what the Lord did through me for this devotional. And I think people are really going to be able to relate because it's another raw situation that you're going to walk through.
Ooh,
And you're
I
really
like
going to
those
have to
kind of
see,
situations.
you're yeah, you're going to really
Yeah.
have to like face some hard facts about yourself through this
Mm.
devotional. So just be prepared for it. Like, because I'm facing hard facts about myself,
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
the stuff that the
Yep.
Lord wrote through me. So yeah, that's what I've got coming up. Still Walking will be a series. I don't know when the second book's going to drop yet. My wife and I are getting this nonprofit, Mental Health and Jesus, up and running. So there's going to be some like book releases through that, some classes. We have a lot of things we're working on, but I also have music available, all types of things coming out. So I'm just excited what the Lord's doing. He's definitely filled my plate, and my wife and I are getting busy on it. So, and I really
Okay.
appreciate like spending time with you today. It's been amazing.
Of course. Brandon, where can people find you if they wanted to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have what's called Linked Tree. I wish I would have had my QR code to put up here, so I'm sorry I came unprepared with that.
Okay, that's
But
okay. You can always
Brandon
send it to
Hathaway
me.
official. Yeah, yes, and I will. So Brandon Hathaway official. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm just under my name, Brandon Hathaway. You can find me on Apple Music, Spotify, everything,
Yeah.
every platform I'm on. If you search Brandon Hathaway official, one
Yeah.
word,
Mhm.
here I am.
All right.
Amazon, the book's on Amazon for sale right now. You can also hit me up directly if you're like me and you just are instant gratification and want it now. You
Right.
can hit me up at brandonhathawayofficial@gmail.com. I'd be happy to deliver a copy to you. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we would definitely make sure that all your information is in the description when people is reading it. I am
Yeah,
so, let
absolutely.
me tell you, me and you could have, my podcast usually only lasts about 45 minutes. We've been on almost an
Oh,
hour and
wow.
a half.
Oh, wow. That's
And
amazing.
I
I
wanted to, there
didn't
was
even know it
more
was an hour and a
stuff
half.
I wanted to ask you, but
Yeah, for sure.
that's
Yeah, we can
okay
have a
because
part
we'll,
two. You just let me
yeah,
know.
that's all, which is two, that's all.
Yeah, we can
Yes.
have a part two for sure. Yeah, this was
I
a
am,
good conversation. I appreciate you.
yes, yes. And I'm so honored. Thank you for stopping
Yeah, me
by.
too.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
you.
Yeah,
Tell the wife I said, call me so we
yeah.
can ride.
I will for sure. Yeah, I will for sure. 100%. Yep.
Yes, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm looking forward to, seeing you guys again. You are amazing. Like I said, I want to hook
Yeah,
you up
you
with
as
my
well.
husband. I believe that you and
Yeah.
my husband will hit it off. Hit it
Oh
off. He,
man, I'm looking
he's a
forward. Yeah.
really good guy. He's into we got a lot of toys. We have a lot of toys.
Mm.
And I just heard
Hmm.
him pull off. We just got our Corvette out. And so we've been in
Oh,
that for the
nice.
last couple of days. But
Yeah. It's gonna be
yeah,
the
he
90s this
races.
week.
He's a master mechanic.
Awesome.
I'm gonna get you with him, okay? So that you
Yeah,
meet him.
let's
I
do
think that
that. We
you'll
should
really
probably do
like
some
it.
double dating and
I'm
all that.
thinking so. Yes, go
For
listen to
sure.
some
Yeah.
spoken
Yeah, that'd be
words.
great. Yeah, that'd be amazing. I'd love that.
Yes.
And I
All
know she
right.
would too. We're always looking to hang out with people. So, and
Yes.
you guys are good people. So we
Yes.
appreciate and
You are
very
so
honored to be a
welcome.
part of this today. Yeah.
All right, Brandon. I will see you again sometime soon.
All right, Venus. Sounds good.
Thank you for stopping by. Bye, you guys.
Honored.
Bye. Till the next
Bye,
time.
guys. Bye.